This is the Deseret News National Edition, when your family needs to know more.
Good morning. Welcome to the Deseret News National Edition. I'm Dave McCann. When it comes to families, it sometimes feels like the world is working against us. U.S. statistics show a decline in the number of people getting married, and the headlines would have you believe the family unit is failing. My guests this morning say strong families are needed now more than ever. In their new book, The Turning, set to release later this month, New York Times best-selling authors Richard and Linda Eyre are here this morning to explain why the state of the family matters and why we need it more now than ever before. Good morning.
Good morning, Dave. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's great.
Another book.
Another book, but this one is more important than any one we've done because
Why?
Oh, you say that about all your books.
No, this is really true though, because this is scary. We need to do something. The tagline is we need to know more. As we've been traveling, we've gotten more and more worried about the family. It is crazy. There are more cohabitating families than those who are married. 82% of the people babies that are born in Scandinavia are born out of wedlock. It is so scary. There's no commitment.
It's the steepness of it. I mean, it's just in the last 10 years. It's just, we used to worry about divorce. Now we're worried about people not getting married at all, or not wanting to ever even cohabitate, not wanting to have any children. Right. The whole norm is moving away from families, Dave, and it scares us to death.
All right, so this book can be very helpful. Let me throw a couple scenarios at you.
Good.
I'm in a marriage at a crossroads. Could go either way. How can this book help me?
Well, it could suddenly make you realize that if you leave your marriage, you're going to leave the best part of your life behind. We see that every day. We see people who have parted ways. It didn't work. We had to go our separate ways. Catch them 2 years later, they're wishing they were back, because being on your own is just not a good way to live.
Right.
And that's, the first part of the book is about what's gone wrong with families. The second part is, how do we turn back? How do we get back to where families matter, families are prioritized? And the bottom line is, you've got to be proactive today, Dave. You've got to create a family culture that is stronger than the peer culture, the internet culture, the media culture, and that's not easy. You can't do it passively. You got to really get after it.
Okay, Linda, I'm in a marriage where apathy reigns, and one spouse is really into it, and the other is whatever. How do we manage through that?
Wow, I think that couple needs to read this book. Because
it'll straighten them right out.
No, it really is terrifying to realize the difference. It isn't just the difference in, one little family, but it's the economy. It is a big picture. We need to do something in order to be happy with our children and to give to our society. We have to give back. We have to do that by having good families.
But Dave's question really intrigues me, because you do see a lot of couples that they're not evenly yoked.
Right.
One of them's just in there pitching, doing their best, and the other one's like, well, I'll let her do it. And the thing that happens is they get in a kind of a personal conflict. Am I right or are you right? And a lot of times what you need is a third voice.
Right.
Honey, read this and see if you agree, and then let's talk about it. We're not talking about my ideas versus yours. We're saying, if this is true, we better get working on it.
Okay. All right, here's another one for you. Been married 50 years. How do I re-engage? Because I've been in cruise control for a long time, and now we're just two people going the same direction, as opposed to two people happily married doing it together.
Re-engage with each other, or with your grandkids and so on? With each other.
With each other. And with life in general. Now is when you have some time to do it. I mean, really, the kids take up all your time when your kids are home. And it really is kind of sad, because the ones that really need to be involved are so involved with their families. By the time you're older and you've been married for 50 years, you can really do something.
We're almost there.
Get off your
We're at
couch
45.
You're closing
we
in.
think it's the best time ever, I'll tell you.
Absolutely.
You have a chance not only to re-engage with each other, but to become active, proactive grandparents. In a way, grandparents are sort of the answer to this malaise of families. You got so many cases where husband and wife are working 12-hour days. Who's going to step in? I think it ought to be grandpa and grandma, help that family out.
Well, in many cases they are. Probably more than they ever thought
Even
they
when
would.
they don't want to
Absolutely.
sometimes.
Exactly.
They're raising the grandchildren in a lot of cases.
Okay, Now I'm considering marriage, and I'm scared to death because of all that we just talked about. What can they learn from this book that will get them to the altar?
Because 4 out of 5 new couples that moved in together last year in the U.S. chose to cohabitate rather than to marry. And here's the statistics. If you cohabitate without the commitment of marriage, you have twice as high a chance of splitting up within the next 2 years. So if you really love someone, make a commitment, because the commitment will get you through the hard times. Don't do it on a trial basis. Don't say, well, let's live together for a while, honey, and see if it works out. It won't work out,
right,
because you'll have problems and there will be no commitment holding you together.
Do you feel a moral obligation to write these books and promote these ideas, even if mainstream seems to be shouting you down and saying, we're not going to do it that way?
More so.
Oh, wow. We are
more so.
Absolutely. We're in a war, and we're losing. And we're kind of sitting in a little bubble here. And sometimes we need to just get outside of the bubble and say, I'm going to do something. In fact, we have a website that people can go to and get involved. It's called Team Turning, and be on a team. You know, you get emails every day, and so that you know where you're supposed to go, what you're supposed to do, and how you can help.
You know, we want the book to just be the tip of the iceberg,
right,
and then the real iceberg is a movement where families are saying, we're the silent minority. Now, we better start being the vocal minority, or it's going to go south.
Real quick, 10 years from now, when we're back having another interview on this, we'll have a different set. It'll be space age.
We've got our cane and we're walking in.
What will that book be about as you've seen this situation evolve over the course of your 45 years together? 10 years from now, what will it be?
Well, we surely hope that there are more stronger families. But boy, I mean, what's the internet going to be like by then? What are our lives going to be like then? Very good question.
If the trend continues, Dave, we're going to be here talking about doomsday scenarios. We're hoping the last 10 years won't repeat themselves in the next 10 years, or there won't be families around. And now's the time to get after it.
All right, Richard Lind, thank you very much for being here. The book is called The Turning, and it's out on August 26th. You can get it everywhere. The IRS are donating all book proceeds to charities focused on the needs of third world families. For more information on that, visit the-turning.com. Coming up next, we'll look at the journey of the undiagnosed. Families searching for answers as they watch their loved ones suffer, and no one knows why. No diagnosis and no cure. How some Utah filmmakers are taking the plight of the undiagnosed to the world.